The MSI Delta 15 is the first laptop to feature the Radeon RX6700M. It also comes equipped with a Ryzen 5800H and dual-channel 16GB 1x8 RAM. At the time of purchase, this laptop was $1,700, $400 cheaper than the Razer Blade 15 with the RTX 3070. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to help me keep reviewing these laptops. The build quality of this guy is superb. Almost no lid wobble or flex in its all-metal frame. The length and width are similar to other 15-inch laptops, but it is very thin, coming in at around 19mm. On my scale, it comes close to the advertised 1.9 kilograms. With the 240-watt charger, it was 2.7 kilograms. On the bottom, there is a factory seal sticker that seems to be common to MSI laptops, but according to my Googling, it won't void your warranty or anything like that, at least in America or India. Although it had, I think, 12 screws, the bottom cover was easier than normal to remove because it only had a few of those clips that you feel like you're breaking when you try and pry them loose. The motherboard is unfortunately inverted, like its sibling the Stealth 15 that shares the same chassis.
Alright then, keep your secrets.
You only have easy access to the Intel Wi-Fi card, but at least it comes with quality RAM and a 1TB SSD. It's listed as having a second M.2 slot, so you can add a secondary SSD if desired. The RAM also should be upgradable. The trackpad is small, but I believe made out of glass, so very nice to use. The keyboard itself, I think, might actually be the same key Acer uses on the Nitro 5 and Predator. So a bit soft in my opinion, but acceptable. Notable shortcuts include the 5-head button to swap between performance profiles and a key to cycle the RGB effects. Port selection is slightly limited. On the right side it has HDMI, USB-C with DisplayPort, and USB. On the left side another USB and USB Type-C with a headset jack and your power jack. Unfortunately, no USB-C power delivery support. My only major gripe with this laptop so far. This model is equipped with a 1080p, 15.6-inch 240Hz screen with an advertised 3 millisecond response time. It is 99% sRGB. Display HDR test tells me it reports 270 nits. MSI doesn't list it anywhere, but it feels closer to 300 to me. The battery life on this guy is insane. At over 13 hours in my test, if you set your screen to 60 Hz, it's my first gaming laptop that should easily make it through an entire day of work or class without charging. The gaming performance on this guy was also really good. Although it only lasted around 80 minutes, you could of course use Radeon software to set an FPS limit or something and extend this. The speakers sounded good to me and top out at around 80 decibels. The MSI software is pretty clean and basic. Nice does not see any advertisements or try to push some lame gaming manufacturer specific social media coaching platform type thing. Seriously, does anybody use those? It gives you some basic performance monitoring, an option to disable the webcam and turn on a customizable crosshair. No mux switch. It still remains to be seen whether it's possible in a system with Smart Shift, and you get a plethora of performance options. Quiet mode averages 42 decibels when gaming. Balance mode bumps it up to 48, with performance mode taking it up to 53. With fans manually set to max, it does hit around 60, and there's definitely some noticeable coil whine. I think that's going to be unavoidable in a small laptop with small fans like this though. Like in the Acers I've used, the custom fan control is quasi-fan control in that under load they won't turn completely off and opt to thermal throttle instead, even if you set them to. You can use this to set a nice middle ground though between the performance mode and max fans, I guess, if you want. I didn't notice any change in fan noise, but it did help temperatures using a cooling pad. Running my stress test of a 30-minute Cinebench loop and unique haven in the extreme performance setting, interestingly, SmartShift decides to give around 48 watts to the CPU and that the GPU only needs 50 watts. So not a very good stress test of the GPU. At around 15 minutes, we can see it looks like it's slightly thermal throttling at a somewhat conservative temperature of 96 degrees, down to a clock speed of 3300 MHz on the 5800H. Switching to max fans and letting it run for 14 more consecutive minutes, our CPU temperature drops down to 90 degrees and our clock speed bumps up to around 3500. When playing Cyberpunk 2077, the GPU averages around 105 watts, at time getting up to 115. Switching to Far Cry 5, it drops down to 70 watts and gives a little extra power to the CPU. Interestingly, Radeon reports the CPU power draw under the integrated graphics sensor in their Radeon software. I guess technically this isn't incorrect. Actually, one of several reasons this video is so delayed is my tiny brain really struggles trying to decipher what the hell is going on with smart shift laptops. It shouldn't negatively affect consumer usage, but trying to check for throttling, clock speeds, and things like that are very different from a traditional setup with a NVIDIA graphics card. It's like, well, is it throttling here, or is Skynet just being tricky? For our benchmarks, we've got a 3D Mark score of 990, a Cinebench score on par with the two other Ryzen 5800Hs I've tested, a Geekbench 5 score of 1471 single core, 8279 multi-core, a GPU OpenCL score of 81727. In Cyberpunk 2077 at ultra settings, it gets around 60 frames per second. Turning ray tracing on at medium dropped our FPS down to the mid-20s. The 6700M is supposed to support ray tracing from what I've read, so hopefully this is something that maybe improves with future driver updates. Running the Far Cry 5 benchmark got 102 frames per second, 5% better than the 6600M running at similar power levels. You can use the HDMI or USB-C to bypass the integrated graphics, putting it within about 6% of the Legion 5 Pro that has a full power RTX 3070 and the benefit of a mux switch. It's worth noting here that I could only get the integrated graphics to turn off and stay off by turning off the laptop screen. In other laptops I've used, I've had to switch the laptop screen on and off before to get it to decide to switch and bypass integrated graphics, but never had to leave it off. Now I know Far Cry 5 isn't the most graphically bound game, so make sure you subscribe for my upcoming video where I'm going to test 8 different games with a direct comparison to my Legion 5 Pro's full power RTX 3070. So, should you buy this laptop? Well, this is one of the most powerful lightweight gaming laptops on the market. For my normal use of putting my laptop on my desk and putting it in my bag to take to work and leave on my desk there, the extra half kilogram or so on my Legion 5 Pro doesn't really bother me. However, for a laptop to carry around the house and do homework or something in various rooms, that weight is very noticeable. It's a shame it doesn't support USB-C charging, but at least the battery should easily last you all day in non-gaming scenarios. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, make sure you leave them down below. So, fun story time. MSI gives you a lot of really advanced BIOS options, and 2 of them look like they might have been more or less a mux switch. The first one I tried actually just turned off the link between the 6700M. Well, the dedicated GPU stopped working, the first option I tried. The second option I tried was to turn off the integrated graphics, which I did, and it worked. I turned off the integrated graphics. Now the screen doesn't work. It still works fine if I hook it up to an external monitor, but I can't load the BIOS menu on an external monitor through the GPU. So the moral of the story is, be careful clicking buttons in BIOS.